All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to give it a second just to make sure that we are connected and online. As soon as I get that green light, here we go. We're good to go. All right, good morning. I'm Jeremy Brunansky. This is Brunansky's Vlog live on YouTube on a Monday morning at 10 a.m. PST. We're going to talk some movies. But before we do that, let's give everybody a second to hop into the show, and we'll be right back with you. So stay tuned. All right, good morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m. PST. It's Monday morning. I'm Jeremy Brunansky. You're watching on YouTube right now. We are going to get started this week. We have got a lot to talk about. We got some movie reviews coming up. We're going to talk some movie news. We're going to look at what happened this weekend in the box office. So stay tuned for that as well. Then right after the movie reviews, we're going to jump into what's arriving in theaters this week, what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray this week, and finally, Certified Rad. So stay tuned for all of that because it's coming today on the show. Before we do that, though, let's go ahead and move into quick announcements, right? We'll get the commercials out of the way, and then we will get right into this week's brand new episode. So don't forget, if you haven't yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button because the subscribe button, and then hit the bell too, so you get all the new content. Because when you click the subscribe button, you're going to get all of the content that we drop on this channel. But then when you hit the bell, you'll actually get notified when the content drops, so you don't miss anything. You're not late for anything. For example, this week we had 2 movie reviews and a DVD review drop. So if you click subscribe, you obviously are getting those videos right to your feed there on your YouTube page. And then when you click the notifications button, the little bell, you're getting little pop-ups that saying, hey, we got new content from people you've subscribed to. So make sure that when you click subscribe, you also hit the bell. Also, don't forget, if at any point during the show you enjoy any part of this show, go ahead and give me the thumbs up, because the thumbs up helps people who like movie-related shows find this movie-related show right here on YouTube. And then also, we have on Twitter, make sure you're following us there because we do a lot of announcements on Twitter at Brunansky's Vlog. And then also make sure you're following us on Stardust as well. Just had a brain moment there. Stardust as well. The Stardust app, download that from the App Store. That is where I do all of my movie trailer reviews. So when you go to movies and you watch those trailers, if you've ever thought, I wonder what Jeremy thinks about these trailers, head over to Stardust. That's where I do the trailer reviews. So check those out as well. And finally, we had some big news drop for the channel for Brunansky's Vlog. Brunansky's Vlog is now on 2 radio stations on the weekend doing a short movie breakdown segment. So if you are interested, as we go through this show, all of the links for the articles, everything like that, that's all going to be in the description box below. So hit the arrow, expand the description box, and check out all those links. Down there in that description box are 2 channels online for the radio, where Brunansky's Vlog is now doing short segments to talk movies. So on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, you're going to want to check those out. I believe both channels, I think it's 2 o'clock on Saturday and 2 o'clock on Sunday, is what time those segments were supposed to air. So I think that's going to be the reoccurring time slot. If there's any changes, just stay tuned to Twitter and I'll launch the announcements for the changes on Twitter. But right now, those 2 radio stations we're talking movies on. So check those stations out over the weekend, give it a listen, and then leave your thoughts in the comments below about what we talk about on today's show. All right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and move now into the movie news segment and the box office report. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so here we go. Down below, you can see we've got the little ticker tape running there with some honorable mentions. The honorable mentions are just stories that drop that I was like, oh, that's cool, but I didn't really want to dig too deep into those stories. So just keep your eyes peeled on the honorable mentions tab, and you should be good to go. All right, so let's go ahead now and jump into the weekend box office report. So this week, I was able to get out to see Life of the Party and Deadpool 2. So that's what I was at the movies watching. What were you guys watching? We're about to find out. Let's take a look here on the box office report. We're going to take a look at number 5 all the way up to number 1, and then we'll talk about it. So coming in at number 5, we have Breaking In with 6,470,000. Life of the Party at 7,725,000. Book Club 12,500,000. Avengers Infinity War still sitting pretty with 28,672,000. And Deadpool 2 coming in with $125 million. So pretty good weekend for Deadpool 2. Not surprising that it made the money it made. I was curious to see how much it would make because, as you'll hear in my review, well, actually, no, I don't cover this in the review, so I'll just say it now. There's always that possibility, right, with sequels, especially dealing with comedies where it might feel a little bit repetitive. Things may be predictable for jokes and stuff like that. So I was curious to see what this film was going to do and how well received it would be. I enjoyed it. Spoiler alert, I enjoyed it. You'll hear why in my review a little bit later. But job well done to Deadpool 2. Curious to see how it's going to hold up and how it will fare in week 2. Because as you'll hear later in the show, we've got a monster juggernaut film coming out that will definitely put the fandom for Deadpool 2 to test. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But Deadpool 2, we'll see how it holds up for week 2. But let's see here. Avengers Infinity War, no surprise, that's still in the top 5. Book Club, that's got a lot of star power in it. Not surprising that it's in the top 5. I am surprised it took number 3, but not surprised it's in the top 5. Life of the Party, if you haven't seen my review for that, it is up on the channel, but it's coming on a little bit later in the show. So stay tuned for that. I enjoyed it. It's not like a great comedy, right? I wasn't like running out of the theater like I have to tweet my replies right now. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a fun, turn your brain off, check it out and laugh kind of film with a lot of heart. There's a lot of heart in this movie. And then Breaking In, coming in with its second week. Nice to see that the people who went out and saw this movie enjoyed it. And then they went back and they told their friends and family, hey, go check this film out. And then some of those folks did because it's still in the top 5. So job well done to Breaking In. Coming in the top 10, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This documentary in its third week is still in the top 10. That is an impressive feat. So that means the people who have seen this movie have said positive things about it. I may go check it out. I don't know, but it's at number 10. So, and it was in number 10 slot last week too. So RBG is doing very well for itself for a documentary about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So that is number 10. And then Rampage still in the top 10 at number 9, A Quiet Place at number 8, Overboard at number 7, and Show Dogs at number 6. If you've been following the show for any time, you know that Show Dogs has really not appealed to me, but my review for Overboard is on the channel right now. So if you go to the movie review playlist, you can check out my review of Overboard. Quiet Place as well. Really enjoyed that movie. Was surprised at how much I actually liked that movie. So check that review out. Rampage, it's fun. It's monsters destroying Chicago. What more do you want? It's a fun monster movie. So check that review out. That's on the channel as well. So that's it for the box office. Coming in at number 5, again, Breaking In, then Life of the Party, Book Club, Avengers Infinity War, and Deadpool 2. Curious to see what Deadpool 2 makes in its second week. Again, as we'll discuss a little bit later in the show, there's a really big hitter coming up to bat that is really going to put the fandom to test. So there it is. There's your box office results. Leave your comments in the comments section below. Let us know what you thought about the top 10. Let us know what movies did you get out to see this weekend and what were your non-spoiler thoughts about those films. Drop it right down there in the comments. All right, moving on to the first news story of the day. This one kind of surprised me, and that is coming to us from Hollywood Reporter. Again, all of these articles in the show note, in the description box below. Click that expand button, check them out as we go through them right here, right now. Jake Gyllenhaal, this is coming to us from the Hollywood Reporter, in talks to star in the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel. No big surprise that they'd want to pull a big name talent like Jake Gyllenhaal. They had Michael Keaton, but The surprise is actually who he's playing, because right now he is in talks to play the villain Mysterio. So how about that? Now, if you aren't familiar with Mysterio, give me a second here. I'll go ahead and bring him up on the screen and show you what he looks like. He's definitely a different looking character. So give me 1 second to pull him up. And he's been around for a long time, very long time. He's probably one of the older villains, one of the oldest villains for sure for Spider-Man. So give me 1 second. We'll pull this up here real quick and I'll give you a look at what he looks like. So you can be like, that's who Jake Gyllenhaal might play. Yes, that is who Jake Gyllenhaal might play. So give me 1 second here. Still trying to get this to pull up. And then you'll be like, wow, that is different. It sure is. Now this is going to be, this is not like what he originally looked like. This is kind of what he looks like in later versions. So just get ready, because this is going to pop on the screen and it's going to be right in front of my face. So here we go, transition and go. So there he is, Mysterio. So as you can see, he is a unitard wearing cape, flowing, windshield for a helmet, and sometimes he carries a duffel bag. There he is. Mysterio is an interesting character. He was a Hollywood stuntman, and like everything kind of went wrong with his career, and then he turned to a life of crime, as you do. So there he is right there. So you can see him. So that's kind of what his deal is as far as Spider-Man goes. So, but the interesting thing is, like, he's also a magician and he's a hypnotist and he knows martial arts because he was a stuntman, right? So it could be like in Batman, in the Christopher Nolan Batmans with Scarecrow, where he creates potions and stuff like that to like freak people out. So he has that mist spray. We could see things similar to that with this character, as they seem to be going for a more grounded approach to everything that's happening. Obviously, in the first one with Michael Keaton as the Vulture, he didn't have like a suit that he was wearing to keep him alive like he needs in the comics. He just had a suit because he built it off of the alien tech from the alien invasion from Avengers. So there are some liberties that they're taking where they're changing the characters to make them feel more real and more grounded in the cinematic universe. So I'm curious to see kind of what they're going to do with Mysterio. Now, are they going to keep the big fishbowl head too? That's another question. And when you bring on a name like Jake Gyllenhaal, with what he does, not just with his acting abilities, but with his face and everything else, and like how he really gets into these characters. If you saw Nightcrawler, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because after I saw Nightcrawler and then I heard news that they might be approaching it for Batman, I was like, perfect. So to see that they're bringing him in for a character that wears a windshield for a mask, I was kind of confused by that, because on his IMDb, he doesn't have a lot of acting credits for voice acting. And I feel like if his whole face, his head, this whole section above his shoulders is going to be one giant fishbowl, why wouldn't we like look for an actor who's maybe more in tune with like maybe he does stunt work and he's a voice actor. I don't know, but it was interesting to see like they're going with Jake Gyllenhaal, or in talks to go with him. Now, I won't be surprised if these talks fall apart and somebody else comes to pick up the plate for this particular role. I don't have a problem with Jake Gyllenhaal taking the role on. Like I said, I think he's an incredibly talented actor. I just don't know what the motivation would be for him to sign on for a character whose head is covered and his face is covered. Now, if they change the outfit, if they change the design, if they go with something that's a little bit more realistic, okay, maybe that's why. Maybe the costume design doesn't bother him or anything like that. But I'm inclined to believe they may go for the classic look, because with Aquaman, we've heard that Black Manta, he's going to have the classic look as well, which is the kind, not circular, but kind of more elliptical helmet that covers his whole face and everything like that. So there's already a possibility that we're going to see a character who doesn't show his face really. He just has like this elliptical black, like jet black mask to it with the red eyes, right? So we'll have to wait and see for that. But as far as Jake Gyllenhaal goes, you tell me he's going to be in a movie, I'm interested. I'm just curious as to why he would go with this role when he's such a talented actor, and he does so much with expressions and stuff like that for emotion, not like a Jim Carrey expressionist kind of thing, but like he really emotes well using his face. He would choose a character whose face is mostly covered by a fishbowl. So we'll have to wait and see. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Moving on to the next story here. This is coming to us from Variety. And this is Bradley Cooper is set to star with Clint Eastwood in the Mule. Now, in the article, it talks a little bit about what this story is going to be about. So we'll just cover that real quick here. Again, if you want to read this, just go ahead and hit the description box. It'll be right there for you. It says the movie's based on a 2014 New York Times Magazine feature that follows the character of Earl Stone, who's going to be played by Clint Eastwood. He's a man in his 80s who's broke, alone, and facing foreclosure of his business. He's offered a job where he just has to drive. But then unbeknownst to his character, he's actually working as a drug mule for a Mexican drug cartel. And a DEA agent by the name of Colin Bates, who's going to be played by Cooper, picks up on this. And now Eastwood's character is on his radar. So this could be really good. We haven't really seen, as it talks in the article, we haven't really seen them work together since, when was it, 2014 with American Sniper. So it'll be curious to see them come back for the story. I like the way this sounds. This sounds like it's going to be something more grounded, more believable. We're really going to get some good character acting out of these guys, because when you take both Bradley Cooper and Clint Eastwood, who still have the chops to deliver not just fun, but also really like heartfelt, strong, emotional pieces, I'm in it. I'm there. I'm with it. Let's do this. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from this film as kind of news drops and everything else, because I think that Clint Eastwood directing this film and working with Bradley Cooper to try and create this story about a guy in the twilight of his life who's really just looking at his life as just what we have to assume is a disappointment or a failure, right? Because everything is kind of going to kaputs for this guy. So we have to expect that like he's going to be on this level of like, I've just got to find the paycheck. I've got to get some work and like find meaning to stay alive. Hey, dude, I just need you to drive for me. Okay, cool. I'll drive for you. And then all of a sudden it goes crazy. And now this 80-year-old is like in a whirlwind of confusion, right? Like, what is going on? I didn't realize this was the deal I signed up for. Enter Bradley Cooper. Hey, dude, what are you doing? This sounds really riveting, very dramatic, and it sounds like we have an opportunity to see some really high caliber acting from these guys, as well as everybody else they bring on board. So curious to see who else jumps on board for this film, and then to see that first trailer, right? Because that first trailer is going to tell us everything we need to know about the tone of the film and what we can expect from these characters and their performances. So pretty rad. Definitely check it out. All right, we're going to move on to the next story. This one surprised me. This is coming to us from Deadline. And this is Steven Spielberg and Leonardo DiCaprio are in early talks to make a film about a biopic about Ulysses S. Grant. Interesting. In the article, I was really happy because I was like, these guys already have like a bunch of movies on their slate, and they do. And I'm really happy with this article, which is one of the reasons why I chose it, because it actually did all of the work for us. And it actually lists all of the different things, all of the different movies and projects that these two have going on. And when you read through it, you can see all of these different projects and you're like, are they even going to have time to make this movie? Like, it's crazy how busy these guys are. We're super good, because that means people are getting paid, and there's a lot of people it takes to make movies. So that means a lot of people are getting paid. So it's good that people have work. It's just crazy when I look at this. I was like, are these guys even going to have time to make this movie? And then if the answer is yes, which we're assuming it is based on their track record, right? Why Ulysses S. Grant? Like, out of all of the characters for biopics, why his? And so at the very end, the very last paragraph, it talks about Spielberg wanting to find an interesting way to explore the Civil War in a different way than what he did with Lincoln. And so in here, it talks about how Grant was one of the more complicated military leaders turned politicians. At the time, he was down on his luck with a failing business. He had a resignation from the army because of accusations of drunkenness. And then he became Abraham Lincoln's most trusted general. Obviously, he won battles during everything and defeated Robert E. Lee and everything like that to get him into the White House. He was a champion for civil rights and trying to defeat the Ku Klux Klan. So there's a lot here that is like, wow, why wouldn't you want to make a movie about this guy when you read it? So it's just like when you look at how busy these guys are, though, you're like, are they going to be able to make this movie? I hope they do, because with Steven Spielberg directing a picture about a guy who's really on the outs, who was great, is on the outs, comes back. It's a redemption story to kind of see what he did and how he helped end slavery and everything else in America. There is a lot of great richness of character in this story. So now I'm excited to see what comes of it, if anything comes of it, and I hope it does. Even if it's not with Leonardo DiCaprio, even if Steven Spielberg picks up somebody else to play that lead role, I'm with it, because Steven Spielberg's still a tremendous director, and he really knows how to make these films work as far as I'm concerned. So curious to see what comes of this. Like I said, check the article out because these guys are super, super busy. So I'm curious to see if this actually comes to fruition or if this is just like something that they put like on the board and they're like, well, this is like what we're going to get to in like 5, 6, 7 years, but we got to get through all of these other projects first. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm curious to see kind of what comes from this story with both of them. If not just one of them, definitely both of them. So let us know what your thoughts are in the comments section below about Steven Spielberg and Leo working together on a Grant biopic after you read the article, because it does actually sound like this could be a pretty dope movie. All right, so that's it for the news. Boom, there it is, news segment covered. We are going to move now into movie reviews. As I said at the top of the show, I got out to the theater to see 2 films, Life of the Party, Deadpool 2 also. I was going to say Deadpool 2, and that just makes no sense. Deadpool 2 also. So get ready for those reviews. The Deadpool 2 review is a spoiler-filled review. Spoiler-filled, spoiler-filled, spoiler-filled review. You have been warned many times. It even says so at the beginning of the review. This is spoiler-filled. You have no excuse. This is spoiler-filled. All right, guys, here we go. Let's get into these reviews, and then we'll be back to finish off the show with what's arriving in theaters, what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray, and finally, my personal favorite segment, Certified Rad. So let's go ahead and move into the movie reviews right now. Sometimes life changes abruptly and without warning. In this particular case, a husband requests a divorce from his wife immediately after dropping their daughter off at college. So, does Life of the Party live up to the comedic moments shown in the trailers, or does this midlife crisis need an insure and a nap? Let's talk about it in this review. In general, this was a lighthearted comedy that had some predictable jokes, but carried a certain level of charm. This could have easily been an atrocious movie, but this seems to be somewhat of a passion project for Melissa McCarthy, and that conveyed a certain level of fun and heart to me as a moviegoer. Her husband directed it, she helped write it and produce it. She had a lot staked in this movie, and that I felt while watching it. The entire story is about her character. We see her deal with a divorce, her husband dating their realtor, her daughter getting ready to graduate college, her going back to college to get her degree, college parties, college guys, a college roommate, and more. However, through it all, it never felt like the heart of her character was ever lost. In fact, the gigantic heart that her character has was actually one of the most enjoyable parts of the movie. She plays a loving and determined mother very well. The additional characters in this story didn't really serve much of a purpose. Again, this movie was entirely about McCarthy's character and her journey. The different individuals that she does have interactions with are there simply to highlight an aspect of her personality or to show her progression. So we absolutely do not get a lot from the rest of the cast in this story. And that's not to suggest that they acted poorly. They all did fine, but we don't really get much from them regarding backstory or character motivation, so it's really hard and difficult to identify with any of them as the film progresses. The time that they're on screen with McCarthy's character, they do add something special and unique, but again, not that much. Life of the Party is playing at your local movie theater right now, and if you enjoy the types of comedies and characters that Melissa McCarthy is known for, you won't be disappointed with this film. This is a lighthearted comedy that does not ask much from the audience, and to be honest, I actually found myself laughing out loud more than I thought I would throughout this picture. And there's a few nice surprises peppered throughout the story to combat the predictability of some of the jokes. And while I did enjoy this film more than I thought I would, that's not going to be enough for me to actually recommend that you guys spend your hard-earned dollars or your time on a big screen viewing of this film. But I will recommend, because it does have so much heart, that you check it out once it's available on your preferred streaming service, or you can rent it at Redbox. And again, because of how much heart her character has and how charming her character was, all of the faults of the film aside, that alone, her performance, is enough to get at least one high five from this guy. Life of the Party is playing at your local movie theater right now. Everyone's favorite Merc with a Mouth is back, but this time it's not for love, but family. That's right, the sarcastic, foul-mouthed, irreverent, morally flexible, impossible to kill anti-hero has come to save the day and make some chimichangas. So, does Deadpool 2 deliver on all of the comedy and action from the first film? Or was the best of Ryan Reynolds left in the Green Lantern film? Let's talk about it in this spoiler-filled movie review. Start of this movie begins by showing us what Deadpool has been up to as one of the world's best assassins. He's still madly in love with Vanessa, so much so that after her death, he tries to blow himself up so that he can join her in the afterlife. And the afterlife apparently is just a cleaner version of their apartment. From there, he joins up with the X-Men to be an X-Men in training. Then he gets arrested, he breaks out of the mutant prison, and then he creates his own super team, the X-Force, to eventually save the day. The story itself is pretty straightforward. However, there are enough absurd moments peppered throughout this story to keep things fresh, and that was a delight. Plus, Julian Dennison and Zazie Beetz brought their own unique personalities to their characters, and those really meshed well with the other established characters in this film. So far, I've seen 2 films with Zazie Beetz in them, and I've enjoyed both of the performances she gave in both films, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing what else she brings to the big screen going forward. In the first film, we see that it's his love for Vanessa that eventually pushes him to become the hero. In this story, it's about seeing the heart of people and being there for family. And yes, as we'd expect from this franchise, there's plenty of gratuitous violence and lots of adult humor that did have me laughing out loud. And mixed in with the wildly inappropriate and off-color jokes, there rests an anti-hero who, despite all of his character flaws, sees people for who they are, not who they pretend to be. It's even mentioned by Cable, played by Josh Brolin, towards the end of the film when he compares Deadpool's personality to that of the personality of his dead wife. So if it wasn't made clear by story alone, it was blatantly stated in the third act of this film. So we're actually treated to a deeper dive into the character of Deadpool and what makes him tick, and I really appreciated that aspect of the writing in this story. And I did have an issue or two with this film. First, the CGI sometimes looked very CGI. This film had a budget of around $110 million, and I just felt like some of the action sequences just looked poorly executed with a budget of this size. 2 examples are the chase scene late in the second act, when Deadpool is chasing Domino and Cable, as well as the end of the film where we see Colossus fight Juggernaut. However, there is one really great funny moment in that chase scene, and that is Deadpool is chasing them on a tiny little Vespa scooter. I thought that was a lot of fun and a very nice touch. I really thought this film had a great opportunity to follow in the footsteps of its predecessor, or along the lines of something similar like the John Wick franchise, where you just stick to bullets, karate, explosions, guns, and then when necessary, CGI for characters like Cable and other mutants and their abilities as well. I was also confused why so many characters were in this film when only a handful of them were necessary. For example, the buildup of the X-Force team. Now I understand the importance of the joke and writing a story so that there's a buildup to the joke, but I thought this was a gigantic misstep. As a fan, I was really looking forward to seeing these characters in action, but we don't really get that. What we get is an introduction, and then almost immediately after that introduction, they're killed off. This was a bummer for me, but again, this is just an issue I had with focus and writing for this particular movie. This wasn't a deal breaker, but I did have to sit back and wonder, why are they even in this film if they're not really moving the story and the plot forward? Why waste all that screen time, and why waste the budget on these characters who are literally just going to be killed off almost immediately? There's potentially just a big expense for a laugh, and I feel like those characters could have been used for so much more. And continuing with the notion that characters are brought in just for the sake of a joke, we see this again later in the film. Enter the Juggernaut. Late in the second act, we see the convoy crash, and the kid could have easily escaped without the help of the Juggernaut. However, the Juggernaut does set up one of the better jokes and one of the funnier scenes that happens immediately after that in this film. Also, he's used to bring the X-Men back into this film. However, I believe that the X-Men would have come back anyway just to save this kid, because at the start of the movie, that's what they're doing. That's their initial mission. The X-Men come together to save this kid. So the Juggernaut, wasted. Deadpool 2 is playing at your local movie theater right now. And if you enjoyed the first film, you will not be disappointed with this one. Its humor is just as crude and inappropriate as we have come to expect and enjoy from this character, and some of the action scenes do actually look pretty good. The 2 main issues that you just heard from me were not deal breakers. In fact, I enjoyed this film so much because of how much heart the story had, and how it stuck with the theme of family. Sometimes you do get to pick your family, and this movie did a really great job showcasing that belief from beginning to end. This film was everything I was hoping for from a Deadpool sequel, with a misstep or two, but overall, I really enjoyed my time in the theater with these characters and this story. And because of that, Deadpool 2 is getting both high fives from this guy. Deadpool 2 is playing at your local movie theater right now. Check it out. All right, we're back. We are going to be talking about what's arriving in theaters, what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray, and my personal favorite, Certified Rad. So thank you everybody for sticking around to watch this late into the show. We are just past 30 minutes, so we're going to try and wrap this up for you guys so you can get back to your Monday morning routines. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what's arriving in theaters this week. And then we'll give a quick little commentary on that. So here we go. Coming into theaters this week, we have Solo, a Star Wars story. And then also, it looks like How to Talk to Girls at Parties. Now for that one, I'm not sure if that's coming wide release or limited release. I couldn't really find it, but it did list it on the internet saying that that was going to be coming out this week as well. So if you have not yet watched the trailer for How to Talk to Girls at Parties, definitely going to recommend you check the trailer out. Now, both of these films I am looking forward to, and that is because of the trailer for How to Talk to Girls at Parties. This movie looks like it's going to be bananas. Like Shaun of the Dead had that cool, like little small town, like English, like comedy meets zombie, like feel to it. And this kind of has the same thing, but like even more like hyper crazy with aliens instead of zombies. So check out the trailer for How to Talk to Girls at Parties. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Solo, a Star Wars story. This is what we were talking about earlier at the top of the show with Deadpool 2. Is Deadpool 2 going to have a good second week because of Han Solo? We don't know. Star Wars, it's Disney, it's Lucasfilm. Even though Deadpool 2 is Marvel, right? It's still a Fox studio. It's not Marvel, so it doesn't fall under the Disney umbrella of things, right? So is Deadpool 2 going to have a strong second week? I'm inclined to say no. But, if you go to see Solo and you can't get a ticket, maybe you go to see Deadpool 2. I mean, that's a possibility, right? That's a real thing that could happen. So but I honestly don't think Deadpool 2 is going to have a strong second week because of the fact that Solo is coming out. I think Solo is just going to crush at the box office. I could be wrong. Thursday night is going to be really telling, or when everybody, myself included, gets out to see this film. What are we going to think? What's our word of mouth going to be before it hits on Friday? What's that early preview screenings for Thursday nights, right? What is that going to look like for this film? Now, if everybody goes to see it and they're like, wow, this was really good, then maybe Han Solo does take the top spot at the weekend box office for number one. Maybe Deadpool takes number two. But if Han Solo comes out and it doesn't hit right and it just feels kind of, then I don't know, Deadpool 2 may take the top spot, because you have to, when you look at Last Jedi and what The Last Jedi did, a lot of people liked it. A lot of people hated it, and it was very polarizing, right? This film was polarizing for the fan base, and I think that is going to have an impact on this film. And I can't say that with a lot of films, like, right, with the Marvel Studios films, if Ant-Man comes out or Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out, it doesn't hit as heavy as people would hope it does. That's not really going to have a huge impact on the next Captain Marvel movie or the Avengers 4. And this is what we talked about before on the show with Black Panther, is Black Panther could have bombed and that still wouldn't have had as much of an effect on Avengers Infinity War, because it's still the buildup for 10 years of storytelling. But in this particular case with Lucasfilm has a different situation going on, because Rogue One wasn't as widely received as they would have hoped as far as people liking it. I enjoyed Rogue One. And then, you had all of the stuff that happened with The Last Jedi and how polarizing that was. So they really haven't had in what I would consider like a home run hit where everybody across the board is like, yes, Star Wars, or at least the majority of people are like, yes, Star Wars. It's kind of been in that weird in-between flux that I think is kind of dampening spirits and dampening excitement. But Star Wars fans, we're going to be there and we're going to give it the benefit of the doubt because we want to see more Star Wars. So like I said, if it hits, boom, great. And then we'll see Solo take the #1 spot. And if it doesn't hit, it still may take the top spot because it's Star Wars, but it may give Deadpool more of a leg on, inching into the #1 spot, even if it takes #2. We may see those numbers a little closer. I doubt it, but it is a possibility, so we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go ahead and move into what's arriving on DVD and Blu-ray this week, right now. All right, coming in on DVD and Blu-ray, we have Game Night, Red Sparrow, Early Man, and I Kill Giants. So out of these 4 films I have seen and reviewed on this channel, 3 of the 4 I have seen: Game Night, Red Sparrow, and Early Man. So for more information on those films, for the full reviews, go ahead and go to the movie review playlist on this channel and check those out. So out of these 4 films, I am going to recommend 3 of the 4. Since I haven't seen I Kill Giants, I can't speak to it. But as far as renting them on your preferred streaming service or redboxing them for $1, or just, checking them out on whatever streaming service you have, cable or whatever, Dish Network or whatever, go ahead and check 3 of the 4 out. And I'll tell you why real quick, because each one's different. Game Night, surprisingly good comedy. This was, I literally laugh out loud. Not just me, which sometimes is the case because my sense of humor is a little different. So sometimes I'll see a movie and I'll be the only one laughing. It's weird. But other times you're in a theater and then everybody's laughing, and it's like, that's a great moment. And that was the moment over and over and over again with Game Night. There was so many laughs in the theater when I saw this, and the theater was packed and everybody was laughing hysterically throughout this movie. This was a really surprisingly good comedy. So if you have not seen Game Night, check it out, because it is a lot of fun. Definitely worth your time. Red Sparrow, good movie. I don't know why more people didn't get out to see this. Jennifer Lawrence kills in this movie. She does a phenomenal job. This is a great spy thriller. Wow. Definitely check this film out. I really enjoyed this whole film. Now, it gets graphic, it gets violent, and it gets like Eastern Promises. If you saw that, you understand what I mean, like realistic violence and realistic graphic violence. Like if you saw Eastern Promises, like it gets to that level and then goes a little bit further in this movie. So you've been warned. This is not a film for children at all. This is definitely more geared for adults. But if you like spy thrillers, this is a really good spy thriller. So check this film out. Jennifer Lawrence delivers an incredible performance in this film. So definitely check it out. Early Man, if you have kids, if you guys like doing family nights with movies, this is going to be a fun family night film for you guys. Cook some popcorn, whatever you do for your family night. But this is a fun family movie. This is just a goofy fun time. I've said fun like 8 times. This is just a goofy fun time, make it 9, with just a stop motion animation of cavemen playing soccer. And it's just, it's just goofball. It's just goofball. It's just, I saw it. I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed it, considering like this was geared for like, families and kids, like little kids. Like it just has that goofball feel to it, but it's just a lot of fun. And the story is written well enough that it's good for parents, right? It's not like one of those films like what I feel like Show Dogs. I haven't seen it yet. So, but just from the trailers, I'm like, this looks like parents are going to have to begrudgingly take their children to see this movie. This was not the case with Early Man. Early Man, like this was a fun movie 10 times. It just was like, and this was a film that I think if you're a parent, you could take the kids to see this and you guys can walk out laughing and talking about how goofball and silly things were in this film. Because again, cavemen playing soccer, what more do you want? And then I Kill Giants. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't comment, but check it out if that's your deal. Maybe you'll like it. I don't know. But there you go. They'll check those out. And again, for more details on those films, go to the movie review playlist. That's where all of my movie reviews are happening. All right, so now we're going to move into my favorite segment of the show. You guys never know what's going to happen, but I can guarantee that whatever happens will most definitely be certified rad. So this week for certified, I'm way late on this. This week for certified rad, last week, I forgot to mention this on last week's show. Last week was Law Enforcement Appreciation Week here in the States. And I forgot to give a shout out to law enforcement everywhere. So shout outs to law enforcement everywhere. I'm a week late on that, but we're going to talk some certified rad right now with regards to law enforcement. So again, if you go to the description box below and you hit that little arrow and drop everything down, you'll see the link for that down there. This week for certified rad, we have let's see here. What's his name? We have a 5-year-old boy named Dakota, and his father was killed in the line of duty. His father was a police officer, and his father was killed in the line of duty. He's 5 years old. Terrible tragedy, for sure. So this kid, before going to school, and this is in Indiana, before going to school, he asked his mom, since his father was a police officer at the Terre Haute Police Department in Indiana, if one of his dad's friends could escort him to school. So she says, you know, okay, sure. She calls down, and what happens? Not one of his friends shows up, but 70 law enforcement officers show up to take this kid to school. Wow. Wow. What a community. What support from the police officer community, and really sticking with the boys in blue on this one, because it wasn't just cops that showed up. It was police officers. It was SWAT, sheriff's deputies. Like, the community really rallied together for this kid to make sure that even though his father was killed in the line of duty, he still felt safe going to school. And wow, 70 officers showed up to escort this kid to school, because that is the law enforcement community. That's how strong it is. Boys in blue, thank you guys so much for your service every day, literally every day. So check this out. There's even a video in the article you can watch to see all the cops and the sheriff's deputies and SWAT and everybody else. This is super cool. This is super touching. And when you can rally together like that as a community, and with, you know, your brothers in blue, and you can really still continue to support those families, you can guarantee that that is most definitely certified rad. So check that article out. Again, that's in the description box below. And when you go to the page, there's a video too, which is super touching. So check it out. All right. And that is going to wrap it up for this week's brand new live episode of Brunansky's Vlog right here on YouTube. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you did, give me that thumbs up, because the thumbs up helps people who like movie related shows find this movie related show right here on YouTube. Also, while you're here, don't forget to click the subscribe button and then hit the bell so you get the notifications when new content drops right here on this channel. Also, don't forget to follow us on Stardust and Twitter. Twitter's where we do all the updates and keep everybody informed as to what's going on. So follow us on Twitter. And then if you go see those movies during the weekend or during the week, and you see those trailers before the movies and you go, I wonder what Jeremy thought, head over to Stardust, because that's where I do all of my movie trailer reviews. And finally, again, in the comments or in the description box below, Brunansky's Vlog is doing 2 movie segments on 2 radio stations. So check those out, Classic Radio 101 and 620 CKRM. So those links are down in the description box. You can check those out. Again, those are going to be on the weekends. So stay tuned to those radio stations on the weekend, and you'll hear me talk more movies with you guys on the radio. So thank you guys again for watching this week's brand new episode. I'm Jeremy Brunansky. It has been a lot of fun talking movies with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, again, thumbs up. Leave your comments below about the movies you saw, about the topics we discussed, about the box office, and what did you think about the films coming out in theaters and on DVD and certified rad. Again, I'm Jeremy Brunansky. This is Brunansky's Vlog. We'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. PST right here on YouTube. And until then, and as always, good night and good luck.